Leadership is often misunderstood because the world has conditioned us to associate it with position, power, or status. We assume that the person with the biggest office, the highest salary, or the loudest voice is automatically the leader. But if you look closely at the people who have made the greatest impact on history, you'll notice something different. Their influence did not begin when they received a title. It began the moment they accepted responsibility. Leadership has never been about having authority over people. It has always been about taking responsibility for people, for decisions, and for the direction in which everyone is moving. Think about the people you naturally trust. Chances are, they are not the ones constantly reminding you of their achievements. They are the ones who consistently show up when it matters. They take ownership when something goes wrong instead of searching for someone else to blame. They celebrate the success of others instead of demanding all the credit. Their actions create confidence because people know they can depend on them. That is the foundation of leadership. It is built on responsibility long before it is recognized by others. Responsibility begins with the choices you make when nobody is watching. It is easy to appear committed when there is an audience. It is much harder to remain disciplined when your effort goes unnoticed. Yet those unseen moments shape the kind of leader you become. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your integrity. Every difficult decision you face honestly builds your character. Every challenge you confront instead of avoiding increases your capacity to lead. Many people spend years waiting for someone to believe in them before they begin acting like leaders. They tell themselves that once they receive the promotion, they'll become more responsible. Once they are given a team, they'll develop better communication. Once they have more influence, they'll start serving others. But leadership works in exactly the opposite direction. You are trusted with greater opportunities because you have already demonstrated responsibility in smaller ones. Imagine two individuals beginning their careers on the same day. One constantly asks, "What is my job?" The other asks, "How can I make this better?" The first person completes only the assigned tasks. The second notices problems, offers solutions, helps teammates, and takes initiative without being asked. Years later, the difference between them is rarely determined by talent alone. It is determined by the willingness to accept responsibility beyond personal convenience. Responsibility also means accepting ownership when circumstances become difficult. It is tempting to point fingers when results fall short. Blaming the economy, your background, your coworkers, or bad luck may provide temporary comfort, but it never creates lasting growth. Every moment spent assigning blame is a moment stolen from finding a solution. Leaders understand that while they cannot control every event, they can always control their response. That mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities for learning. True leadership requires emotional maturity. There will be moments when people misunderstand your intentions, criticize your efforts, or question your decisions. Authority reacts defensively because it seeks to protect its image. Responsibility responds thoughtfully because it seeks to protect the mission. There is a profound difference between winning an argument and earning respect. Great leaders know that preserving trust is often more valuable than proving they are right. Another powerful aspect of responsibility is the willingness to serve. Service is often mistaken for weakness, but in reality, it is one of the greatest demonstrations of strength. A responsible leader asks, "What do my people need to succeed?" instead of, "What can my people do for me?" That simple shift changes everything. It creates an environment where people feel valued, respected, and motivated to contribute their best. When individuals know they are supported, they become more creative, more committed, and more resilient during difficult times. Leadership is also measured by consistency. Anyone can be responsible for a single day. The challenge is maintaining that standard day after day, especially when progress is slow or recognition is absent. Champions are not defined by occasional excellence, but by daily discipline. Small responsible actions repeated over months and years create extraordinary results that appear effortless to outsiders. What others call talent is often the product of invisible consistency. As you move forward, stop asking yourself whether you have enough authority to lead. Instead, ask yourself whether you are willing to accept more responsibility today than you did yesterday. Choose to solve problems instead of complaining about them. Choose to encourage others instead of competing against them. Choose integrity over convenience and service over self-interest. When responsibility becomes your habit, leadership becomes your identity. And once people experience the confidence, stability, and trust that your actions create, they won't follow you because they have to. They will follow you because they genuinely believe in where you're leading them. Every remarkable achievement begins with a reason that is stronger than comfort, stronger than fear, and stronger than temporary motivation. People often chase success by focusing only on goals: a promotion, a business, financial freedom, recognition, or personal accomplishments. While goals are important, they are not enough to sustain you through uncertainty. Goals tell you where you want to go, but purpose reminds you why the journey matters. When your purpose is clear, your actions gain direction, your challenges gain meaning, and your victories become more than personal achievements. They become contributions that create lasting value. Think about the difference between someone who works only to earn a paycheck and someone who works because they believe their efforts improve the lives of others. Both may perform the same tasks, but their mindset is entirely different. The first person is motivated by external rewards that can disappear overnight. The second is driven by an internal mission that remains steady, even when circumstances become difficult. One asks, "What do I get?" The other asks, "What difference can I make?" That single question changes every decision they make. Purpose is not something reserved for famous leaders, entrepreneurs, or world-changing innovators. Every person has the opportunity to connect their daily actions to something greater than themselves. A teacher shapes future generations. A parent builds the emotional foundation of a family. A business owner creates opportunities for employees and customers. A student prepares to solve problems that have not yet been solved. Even the smallest role becomes significant when it is connected to a meaningful purpose. The challenge is that purpose is often discovered, not invented. It grows through experience, reflection, and service. Many people become frustrated because they expect purpose to arrive as a sudden moment of clarity. They wait for perfect certainty before taking action. But clarity rarely comes before movement. More often, it appears while you are doing the work, learning from mistakes, and paying attention to the needs around you. Purpose reveals itself through consistent effort and a willingness to contribute. There will be seasons when your enthusiasm fades. Every meaningful journey includes moments of exhaustion, disappointment, and doubt. During those times, motivation alone is unreliable because emotions naturally rise and fall. Purpose, however, remains constant. It reminds you why you started long after excitement has disappeared. It becomes the quiet voice that tells you to continue when quitting seems easier. It transforms obstacles from reasons to stop into opportunities to grow stronger. A mission greater than yourself also changes how you define success. If success is measured only by money or recognition, you will constantly compare yourself to others. There will always be someone earning more, achieving faster, or receiving greater attention. Comparison creates anxiety because it shifts your focus away from your own journey. Purpose brings your attention back to impact. Instead of asking whether you are ahead of someone else, you begin asking whether you are becoming a better version of yourself and creating value for the people around you. This perspective also strengthens resilience. Imagine two people facing the exact same setback. Both lose an important opportunity. Both experience disappointment. One sees the failure as proof they are not capable. The other sees it as part of a larger mission and asks, "What can this teach me?" Their circumstances are identical, but their interpretations are completely different. Purpose provides emotional stability because it reminds you that a single failure cannot define a mission that is much bigger than one moment. Another powerful effect of purpose is that it inspires trust. People naturally want to follow individuals who stand for something meaningful. They are drawn to those whose actions consistently reflect their values. Purpose creates authenticity because your decisions become aligned with your beliefs instead of being controlled by public approval. When people recognize that your commitment is genuine, they develop confidence in your leadership. They know you are not acting out of personal ambition alone, but from a desire to create something valuable for everyone involved. Living with purpose also influences the choices you make every day. It becomes easier to say no to distractions because you understand what truly deserves your attention. Short-term pleasures lose their power when they threaten long-term significance. Every decision is filtered through a simple question. Does this move me closer to the mission I want my life to represent? That question brings clarity in moments of uncertainty and discipline in moments of temptation. Perhaps the greatest gift of purpose is that it outlives personal success. Achievements eventually fade. Trophies gather dust, and titles are passed to someone else. But the lives you encourage, the opportunities you create, and the positive influence you leave behind continue long after your own accomplishments are forgotten. That is the difference between simply achieving success and creating a legacy. So don't build your life around the pursuit of applause. Build it around a mission that remains meaningful even when no one is watching. Let your purpose guide your decisions, strengthen your resilience, and shape your character. When your work becomes connected to something greater than your own ambitions, every challenge gains significance, every victory becomes more fulfilling, and every step forward contributes to a life that truly matters. That is how leaders inspire others, and that is how champions create success that lasts far beyond themselves. Before you can lead a team, build a business, inspire a community, or influence the people around you, there is one person you must learn to lead first: yourself. This is where real leadership begins, not in a boardroom, not on a stage, and not in front of a crowd, but in the quiet conversations you have with your own mind every single day. The quality of your leadership will never rise above the quality of your self-leadership. If your thoughts are ruled by fear, your decisions will reflect uncertainty. If your emotions control your actions, your influence will become unpredictable. But when you master your mind, you create a foundation that remains steady regardless of what happens around you. Life constantly presents situations you cannot control. Markets change, opportunities disappear, people disappoint you. Plans fail, unexpected challenges appear without warning. If your peace depends on everything going perfectly, you will spend most of your life feeling frustrated. Strong leaders understand a simple but powerful truth. They cannot control every event, but they can control how they respond. That ability separates reaction from intention. Instead of allowing circumstances to dictate their behavior, they choose their response based on their values and their purpose. Self-awareness is the first step toward mastering your mind. Many people know what they do, but very few understand why they do it. They react automatically to criticism, pressure, or failure without stopping to examine what is happening inside them. The most effective leaders develop the habit of observing their thoughts before acting on them. They recognize their fears without becoming prisoners of those fears. They acknowledge frustration without allowing it to become anger. They notice doubt without letting it define their identity. Awareness creates space between emotion and action, and in that space, wisdom has the opportunity to guide every decision. Consider what happens when pressure increases. Pressure does not create character, it reveals it. When deadlines become demanding, or unexpected problems arise, people naturally return to their deepest habits. If those habits include panic, blame, or avoidance, pressure will magnify them. But if those habits include patience, preparation, and discipline, pressure will reveal strength instead. This is why mental training is just as important as professional training. You cannot expect calm decisions during chaos if you have never practiced calm during ordinary moments. One of the greatest obstacles to mental mastery is the constant search for external validation. Too many people allow their confidence to depend on the opinions of others. A compliment lifts their spirit, while criticism destroys it. Praise gives them energy, while rejection makes them question their worth. This creates emotional instability because public opinion changes constantly. Wise leaders build their confidence on something far more reliable: their character, their preparation, and their commitment to continuous growth. They appreciate encouragement, but they do not depend on it to keep moving forward. Mastering your mind also means learning to replace limiting beliefs with empowering perspectives. Every person carries an internal story. Some stories say, "I'm not experienced enough." Others whisper, "I always fail," or "someone else is more talented." These thoughts may feel convincing, but they are often assumptions rather than facts. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly. If you constantly repeat messages of defeat, your actions will eventually reflect those beliefs. But if you intentionally replace them with thoughts rooted in possibility, resilience, and responsibility, your behavior begins to change as well. Transformation starts long before anyone else notices it, because it begins in the unseen patterns of your thinking. Emotional discipline is equally important. Leadership is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to prevent emotions from controlling your decisions. Fear has a purpose, but it should not become your leader. Anger may signal that something matters, but it should not determine your actions. Excitement can inspire progress, but it should not replace careful judgment. Emotional maturity means recognizing every feeling without surrendering your direction to it. The strongest leaders are not those who never experience doubt or frustration. They are the ones who continue acting according to their values despite those emotions. Another essential part of self-leadership is developing the discipline to keep promises you make to yourself. Confidence is not built only by achieving extraordinary results. It grows every time you prove to yourself that your words can be trusted. When you commit to waking up earlier, learning a new skill, finishing an important task, or improving your habits, every completed promise strengthens your self-respect. Every broken promise weakens it. Integrity is not only about being honest with others, it is about becoming someone who is honest with yourself. Mastering your mind also requires the humility to remain a lifelong learner. The moment you believe you know everything, you stop growing. Great leaders remain curious because they understand that every experience, every conversation, and even every failure contains lessons capable of expanding their perspective. They ask thoughtful questions, listen carefully, and remain open to improvement. Their confidence comes not from believing they have all the answers, but from knowing they are always willing to learn. When your mind is disciplined, your leadership becomes consistent. People trust consistency because it creates safety and confidence. They know that your decisions will not be driven by temporary emotions or changing circumstances. They know your values remain steady, your words carry weight, and your actions reflect your principles. That kind of stability inspires confidence far more effectively than charisma ever could. Remember, every victory you hope to achieve in the world begins with a victory inside yourself. Before you conquer challenges, you must conquer distractions. Before you influence others, you must influence your own habits. Before you earn the trust of a team, you must become someone your own conscience can trust. Master your thoughts, strengthen your discipline, and guard your character with intention. When you lead yourself well, you naturally become the kind of person others are willing to follow, and that is where true leadership begins. Trust is one of the most valuable assets a leader can ever possess, yet it is also one of the easiest things to lose. It cannot be demanded through authority, purchased with success, or created through impressive speeches. Trust is earned slowly, through consistent actions repeated over time. People may admire talent, intelligence, or confidence, but they choose to follow those they trust. Without trust, leadership becomes control. With trust, leadership becomes influence. That is why every great leader understands that the strength of a team is determined not simply by skill, but by the quality of trust that exists between its members. Many people believe trust is built through extraordinary moments, but in reality, it is usually formed through ordinary ones. It grows when you keep your word, even when it is inconvenient. It grows when your actions match your promises. It grows when people know they can rely on you regardless of the circumstances. Every small act of integrity becomes another brick in the foundation of trust. Every broken promise removes one. Over time, these small choices shape your reputation far more than any single achievement ever will. Consistency is what transforms good intentions into lasting credibility. Anyone can act with integrity for a day or even a week. The challenge is maintaining that standard month after month and year after year. People pay attention to patterns more than isolated moments. They watch how you respond under pressure, how you treat people who cannot benefit your career, and how you behave when no recognition is available. These everyday actions quietly communicate your character long before you ever speak about your values. One of the greatest tests of trust comes during difficult times. It is easy to appear confident when everything is going according to plan. It is much harder to remain honest when mistakes have been made or expectations have not been met. Some leaders try to protect their image by hiding problems or shifting blame onto others. In the short term, this may seem like a way to preserve authority. In the long term, it destroys confidence because people recognize when someone values appearances more than honesty. True leadership requires the courage to admit mistakes, accept responsibility, and focus on finding solutions instead of protecting pride. Honesty does not mean having every answer. In fact, people often trust leaders more when they openly acknowledge uncertainty while remaining committed to finding the best path forward. Pretending to know everything creates distance between leaders and their teams. Humility, on the other hand, creates connection. It tells people that learning is valued more than ego, and that truth matters more than image. When individuals feel they are hearing the truth, even when the news is difficult, they are far more willing to stay committed during challenging seasons. Trust also grows through empathy. Every person wants to feel seen, heard, and respected. Leadership is not only about directing tasks, it is about understanding the people performing those tasks. Taking time to listen without interrupting, asking thoughtful questions, and genuinely caring about another person's perspective creates an environment where people feel safe. That sense of safety encourages creativity, collaboration, and honest communication. When people know they will not be embarrassed for sharing ideas or punished for asking questions, they become more willing to contribute their best thinking. Empathy should never be confused with lowering standards. Great leaders combine compassion with accountability. They understand that caring for people includes helping them grow, even when growth requires difficult conversations. Honest feedback delivered with respect builds trust because it communicates belief in another person's potential. Ignoring problems may feel kind in the moment, but it often prevents people from becoming their best. Accountability without empathy creates fear. Empathy without accountability creates complacency. Trust flourishes when both exist together. Reliability is another essential element of trust. People need to know they can depend on you not only when circumstances are easy, but also when challenges arise. Reliability means showing up prepared, following through on commitments, and remaining steady when others become overwhelmed. It means doing what you said you would do without needing constant reminders. Reliability communicates respect because it tells others that their time, their expectations, and their confidence matter to you. An often overlooked part of trust is fairness. People carefully observe whether leaders apply principles consistently or play favorites. When decisions are based on integrity rather than personal preference, confidence grows. Fairness does not mean treating everyone identically, because different situations require different responses. It means applying values consistently and making decisions that are transparent, thoughtful, and rooted in what is right rather than what is convenient. Trust is also strengthened when leaders willingly share credit. Insecure leadership seeks recognition for every success. Secure leadership celebrates the contributions of others. When people feel appreciated, they become more engaged and more committed to the shared mission. Recognition costs nothing, yet it creates loyalty that money alone cannot buy. A leader who constantly says "I" weakens the team. A leader who regularly says "we" strengthens it. Perhaps the greatest measure of trust is what people do when you are not present. If they continue acting with integrity, supporting one another, and pursuing excellence even in your absence, then trust has become part of the culture. That is the goal of leadership, not creating dependence on one person, but building an environment where shared values guide everyone's decisions. Remember that trust is never built in a single conversation or a single achievement. It is created through countless moments of honesty, consistency, humility, empathy, reliability, and fairness. Every action either strengthens or weakens the confidence others place in you. Choose the actions that align with your values, especially when they are difficult. Over time, your reputation will speak before you do. Your character will inspire confidence before you offer direction. And your leadership will be measured not by the authority you possess, but by the trust you have earned. That is the kind of influence that lasts, and that is how champions lead. Failure has a way of making us question everything. It challenges our confidence, tests our patience, and often convinces us that our dreams are further away than we imagine. In those moments, it is easy to believe that failure is the opposite of success. But the truth is far more powerful. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is one of the most valuable paths leading toward it. The difference between those who eventually achieve extraordinary things and those who give up is rarely the number of times they fail. It is the way they choose to interpret those failures. Many people see failure as a verdict. They think a mistake defines their abilities or determines their future. One rejection convinces them they are not talented enough. One unsuccessful business makes them believe they are not meant to be entrepreneurs. One difficult season causes them to abandon years of progress. But successful leaders understand that failure is not a final judgment. It is feedback. It is information revealing what worked, what did not, and what must improve before the next attempt. Imagine a person learning to play a musical instrument. During the first few weeks, every note feels awkward. Their timing is inconsistent. Their fingers move slowly, and mistakes happen constantly. If they interpret those mistakes as proof they lack talent, they will quit before they ever experience progress. But if they see each mistake as feedback, they begin making adjustments. They practice differently. They improve their technique. Over time, what once seemed impossible becomes natural. Growth happens because they allowed failure to become a teacher instead of an enemy. The same principle applies to leadership. Every difficult conversation teaches communication. Every wrong decision teaches better judgment. Every missed opportunity reveals areas where preparation can improve. Leaders who continue growing are not those who avoid mistakes. They are those who refuse to waste them. Every setback contains a lesson, but only those willing to examine it carefully will discover its value. One of the greatest dangers after experiencing failure is allowing emotion to replace reflection. Disappointment can cloud your thinking. Embarrassment can tempt you to hide your mistakes instead of learning from them. Pride may encourage you to blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck. While these reactions provide temporary comfort, they prevent long-term growth. Reflection asks different questions. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" it asks, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" That single shift transforms failure from something you fear into something you can use. This mindset also removes the fear of taking meaningful risks. People who believe failure defines them become overly cautious. They avoid challenges because they want to protect their image. They remain inside comfortable routines because comfort feels safer than uncertainty. Yet nothing remarkable has ever been built entirely inside a comfort zone. Every innovation, every breakthrough, every meaningful accomplishment required someone willing to risk temporary failure for the possibility of lasting impact. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing progress despite fear. It is important to remember that failure should never become an excuse for carelessness. Learning from mistakes requires honesty. You must be willing to evaluate your decisions objectively. Did you prepare thoroughly? Did you seek wise advice? Did you communicate clearly? Did you remain disciplined when distractions appeared? Honest self-examination allows improvement to become intentional rather than accidental. Without reflection, repeated failure becomes a pattern. With reflection, repeated effort becomes progress. Another lesson failure teaches is humility. Success can sometimes create the illusion that we no longer need to learn. Failure reminds us that growth is an ongoing process. It encourages us to listen more carefully, ask better questions, and remain open to new perspectives. Humility does not weaken confidence. It strengthens it because it keeps us adaptable. Leaders who continue learning remain effective even as circumstances change because they never assume they have reached the end of their development. Failure also builds resilience. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your ability to face the next one. Think about a tree growing in a windy environment. The constant pressure forces its roots to grow deeper, making it stronger than a tree protected from every storm. In the same way, life's difficulties develop emotional strength that comfort alone can never produce. The obstacles you overcome today prepare you for responsibilities you could not handle yesterday. There is another powerful truth about failure that many people overlook. The people you admire most have almost certainly experienced more setbacks than you realize. What appears to be an overnight success is often the result of years filled with rejected ideas, difficult decisions, unexpected disappointments, and quiet perseverance. The world celebrates the final achievement, but rarely sees the countless lessons learned along the journey. Excellence is usually built on a foundation of corrected mistakes rather than perfect performances. As a leader, your response to failure influences more than your own future. It shapes the culture around you. If you treat every mistake as a reason for blame, people will become afraid to innovate. They will hide problems instead of solving them. They will protect themselves instead of pursuing excellence. But if you encourage thoughtful learning, accountability, and continuous improvement, people become more creative, more courageous, and more willing to grow. They understand that mistakes are not ignored, but they are transformed into opportunities for progress. So, the next time life does not go according to plan, resist the temptation to label yourself a failure. Separate the event from your identity. A failed attempt does not make you a failed person. A setback does not erase your potential. Stand back up, study the lesson, make the necessary adjustments, and move forward with greater wisdom than before. Every challenge carries information. Every disappointment contains direction. Every obstacle has the potential to become preparation. When you begin treating failure as feedback instead of defeat, you stop fearing the journey and start embracing the growth that creates true champions. The greatest leaders are rarely remembered because of the speeches they gave or the promises they made. They are remembered because of the lives they influenced through the example they lived every single day. Words can inspire people for a moment, but consistent actions inspire them for a lifetime. Leadership is not something you switch on when people are watching. It is revealed in your habits, your decisions, and the way you treat others when there is nothing to gain. If you want to inspire people, do not begin by asking how to speak more persuasively. Begin by asking how to live more intentionally. People are constantly observing, whether they realize it or not. Your family watches how you respond to stress. Your coworkers notice how you handle pressure. Your friends pay attention to whether your actions match your values. Children often imitate behavior more quickly than they follow instructions. Teams adopt the habits they consistently see from those they respect. This is why example is such a powerful force. It communicates authenticity. It proves that your beliefs are more than ideas. They are principles you are willing to practice. Many individuals believe leadership is about convincing others to change. In reality, lasting influence begins with personal transformation. When people see discipline instead of excuses, they become curious. When they see integrity instead of compromise, they develop respect. When they see perseverance during difficult seasons, they begin believing they can overcome challenges as well. Inspiration is contagious because courage encourages courage. Discipline strengthens discipline, and hope awakens hope in others. One of the most powerful examples you can set is consistency. It is easy to work hard when motivation is high and recognition is immediate. The real test comes on ordinary days when progress feels slow, and nobody seems to notice your effort. Champions understand that excellence is built in these ordinary moments. They continue preparing when there is no audience. They continue learning after achieving success. They continue improving long after others become satisfied with average results. This quiet consistency becomes the foundation of extraordinary influence. Humility is another quality that inspires people deeply. Society often celebrates those who seek attention, but genuine leadership is different. Humble leaders are confident enough to admit they do not know everything. They ask questions, seek advice, and remain open to learning regardless of their experience. They celebrate the achievements of others without feeling threatened. They willingly share credit because they understand that success is rarely accomplished alone. Humility creates trust because it reminds people that leadership is about serving a mission rather than protecting an ego. Courage also sets an example that others cannot ignore. Courage does not always appear in dramatic moments. More often, it is found in everyday decisions. It is choosing honesty when dishonesty would be easier. It is standing for what is right even when standing alone. It is making difficult decisions based on values instead of popularity. Every courageous action gives silent permission for others to act with integrity as well. People become braver when they witness someone choosing principle over convenience. Another essential example is the willingness to remain calm during uncertainty. Challenges are inevitable. Teams do not expect leaders to eliminate every problem. They look for someone who can remain focused when circumstances become confusing. Calmness is not pretending that difficulties do not exist. It is demonstrating confidence that solutions can be found through thoughtful action. Emotional stability gives people hope because it reminds them that panic rarely solves problems, while clear thinking often does. Leaders who inspire by example also understand the importance of respect. Respect is not reserved only for those with influence or authority. It is demonstrated in everyday interactions with everyone. It is shown by listening carefully before responding, acknowledging the contributions of others, and treating every individual with dignity regardless of their position. Small acts of respect create cultures where people feel valued, and valued people naturally become more engaged and committed. Generosity is another characteristic that quietly influences those around you. Generosity is not limited to financial giving. It includes sharing knowledge, offering encouragement, giving credit, investing time, and helping others grow. The most respected leaders measure success not only by what they accomplish personally, but also by how many people they help develop along the way. Their legacy is multiplied because they create more leaders instead of more followers. Patience is equally important. Growth rarely happens as quickly as we hope. Teams need time to develop. Relationships require consistent investment. Skills improve through repetition rather than shortcuts. Leaders who demonstrate patience teach others that meaningful success is built steadily rather than instantly. They understand that lasting progress often appears slow in the beginning, but becomes powerful through persistence. Perhaps the most inspiring example a leader can offer is unwavering integrity. Integrity means your private choices align with your public words. It means you remain faithful to your values even when compromise would be easier or more profitable. People may not witness every decision you make, but over time they experience the results of your character. Integrity creates confidence because it removes uncertainty. Others know they can depend on your principles rather than your changing emotions. True leadership is never measured solely by personal achievements. It is measured by the positive influence you leave behind. Years from now, people may not remember every goal you accomplished or every award you received, but they will remember how you made them feel, what you helped them become, and the example you consistently set. They will remember the encouragement you offered when they doubted themselves, the integrity you displayed when compromise was tempting, and the hope you carried during difficult times. So choose every day to become the example you wish you had. Let your habits speak louder than your promises. Let your humility become stronger than your pride, your courage greater than your fear, and your consistency more powerful than temporary motivation. Live in a way that encourages others to believe they can rise above their limitations. Because when your life reflects your values, your influence extends far beyond your words. That is how leaders create lasting impact. And that is how champions leave a legacy that continues to inspire long after they are gone.